Mm.
Welcome, all people coming in right now. This is the Daily Wolves Courtside. We're here today. Another W for the Timberwolves, 8 in a row. The first time since 2003, 2004 season, back when the Wolves went to the Western Conference Finals. Can't believe we're just rolling, man. It seems like all the momentum's coming back. The Wolves are becoming one of the hottest teams in the NBA, of course, and you're seeing it right now unfold. Your guys stepping up that aren't just the star players as well. I thought the whole team kind of contributed tonight. I guess to start off with, Matt, as we got people tuning in right now, what kind of stuck out for you off the rip? Like any particular player, anything that kind of got you hyped tonight when you're watching the game, man?
Yeah, man, we finally had the Anthony Edwards breakout game again. He was scoring 40, he was scoring 50 all throughout the beginning of February.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say he slowed down. Our team kind of just more like came together as a whole and took the load off Ant, so he didn't have to score as much. But we finally had that big Ant outbreak and the scoring to start the first half, or the first quarter, I should say. I thought he was going to come out and drop 60 from how hot he was playing. And like, obviously that's not realistic, but it was great to see Ant get going, and then Jaden also get going towards the middle of the game and in the third quarter. Just another fantastic game from Jaden, and those were my two big takeaways from the game. Amazing A+ performances from both of them.
I mean, you got plus 31 from Anthony Edwards tonight, a plus 31 from Jaden McDaniels. Those two, that's insane, man. Andrew, you were at the game tonight. What did you see in person as well?
I mean, the Utah Jazz put on a masterclass of how to take in a basketball game.
Mm-hmm.
They came out, had about 2/3 of the roster injured, and then they single covered Anthony Edwards the entire first quarter. They didn't double at all. They played drop with Walker Kessler, and Ant popped off, and they led cover to cover pretty much, which if you're Utah, this is great. They're tanking for Cooper Flag. That this is a great result for them. Yeah. And Brooklyn, Philadelphia, New Orleans, take notice. Like, if you want to lose these games to help your standings, single coverage Ant and play drop coverage. And this will be how all of these games should and will go.
We have obviously games we're going to talk about later down this episode here for people as well that are coming up. We look forward to a game tomorrow night. But I think tonight, obviously, Anthony Edwards, like you said, set the tone, goes crazy. 21 points in the first quarter. Really just looks like he was a man amongst boys out there. Superstar performance. It's a privilege for anybody who is watching the game on TV to see a player this special in your state playing for it. It's incredible that we have this in Minnesota right now. I know a lot of fans at the game tonight got to see an amazing performance as well. It was Crunch's birthday, so shout out to Ant for performing on Crunch's birthday. I'm sure that's like where you got that extra inspiration, guys. But yeah, man, I thought another player that gets overlooked tonight who had a fantastic performance is Gobert. I thought his impact was super noticeable to me. I thought he was impactful under the rim defending. He was getting rebounds as well. I thought Rudy looked pretty good out there, Matt. We don't got you on audio, man.
My fault. Mike was muted. My fault, guys. But yeah, big takeaway from Rudy, where we missed him the most, I think, was just kind of like those little shots that bounce off the rim and kind of hit soft on that second one. Just missing Gobert's presence right under the rim. That's something that has been amazing to have. And I think, a couple buckets off those little just rebound, go back up, put back dunks tonight. Yep. And then obviously Rudy Gobert, he changes your offensive game plan. You can't attack the lane as much. You have to scheme around Rudy Gobert. So it's just great to have a defender like Rudy. You have all the social media narratives, whatever the national media is going to push at you. But when it's all said and done, Rudy Gobert is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's a great defender. He's one of the best defenders the game has ever seen. He's a great rebounder, and I think he's just going to be another piece to our playoff run, and he's another reason that we're getting hot at the right time.
Who's another player tonight, Andrew, that stuck out for you kind of?
I mean, it was Jalen Clark for me. I mean, he's just everywhere when he gets a chance.
Yes, sir.
And tonight especially, he missed a free throw, then gets a steal. He makes a bad pass on offense, then goes and gets a steal. He might get driven by, but then he's going to bust his butt for a rebound. I mean, he just has so much energy and just want to in him that it pops off. I think the other person that stuck out to me, it was just Jaden. We talked about him earlier, but Jaden is just, he is stacking this together now. It is no longer just we've had 3 good Jaden games. It's not we've had 2 good Jaden weeks. It is Jaden McDaniels has probably been the second best player on the team. I mean, that's including Randall missing time for injury, but Jaden's shooting really well at the rim. He's getting 8 rebounds a game pretty much through the whole new year. He's just proving that this is Jaden McDaniels, and this is something that we need to expect from him now.
Yeah, I think with Jaden for you, kind of going off that, well, yeah, it's becoming more consistent now. You're seeing it. We're so big on having Jaden become one of the top players on the team now. He's forming that number 2, number 3 kind of player slot right now for the Wolves. I mean, 20 points again tonight, just looked incredible. You're seeing him. He hit the 3 ball tonight a couple times. I think that's always a good step because Jaden has been kind of sporadic this year from 3. But it's the other part that opened his game. It's the mid range. It's that fadeaway jumper now that he has that's unguardable. It's the Euro step. It's his ability to be physical under the hoop and get, out muscle now and out body people, which is, he always plays with that like meanness, that dog in him. We've obviously seen him like get in like fights before with like Klay Thompson and all these guys. Jaden's
Hall of
one of
Fame
those guys,
crash out.
Exactly. And he's one of those guys that's going to stick up for his team, unlike, maybe the Knicks didn't do the other night for Cat. But yeah, Jaden's just awesome, man. It's so fun to watch like a player just grow up right in front of you. And then it's just at the right time before the Timberwolves go in the playoffs. This isn't just a thing now. This isn't something that's going to fade off. It looks like this is consistent because he's done it obviously for so long. I want to piggyback too off the Jalen Clark thing real quick because I watched tonight and there's a few things that got me off my seat tonight watching at home, and that might have got me evicted from my place. And that's going to be Anthony Edwards' massive dunk, and then Jalen Clark just playing basketball tonight. The dude makes me want to run through the freaking brick wall. He's just like, every time he does those plays, those hustle plays, bothering Utah, putting those players in absolute hell in jail tonight. They're going to remember that because when they go to bed tonight, Jalen Clark's going to be the first thing that they see when they close their eyes, man. He was coming. And you're seeing why he was an all defender in college, why he won Defensive Player of the Year, playing for UCLA, and why Tim Conley and the Timberwolves believed in the kid when they drafted him. And it's just awesome to see that they found another hidden gem deep there, pick 53 in the draft for Jalen Clark. What an absolute steal. And then, of course, obviously converting his contract and giving him a standard NBA contract now. So now you have him on the roster moving forward, and he becomes playoff eligible, which before he wasn't. So that's actually huge too. Having that extra ammunition you can throw in, because now Minnesota, when you get to the playoffs, no matter who you're facing, it's like Anthony Edwards is a good defender. He's on you guys. Then you go to Nikhil. Then you go to Dante. Then it goes to Jalen Clark. They have all these dogs you can just throw on the perimeter, and I think that's going to be huge when the Timberwolves get in the playoffs, Matt.
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that the Minnesota Timberwolves have one of the, if not the best, individual perimeter defenders in the NBA, I should say. Like you said, you got Ant, Jaden, Nikhil, Jalen Clark, Dante is serviceable. Mike is serviceable for his age. Like the list just goes on and on. Like everybody can defend the perimeter. So that's definitely going to be one of those big things come playoff time. And like you said, it seems like everybody's heating up at the right time. And I think it's kind of to this point. We saw the Cavs lose today. They were on a 14-game win streak. And right now we're the hottest team in the NBA. This is what we wanted. This is kind of what we were waiting for. And I know I've harped on it before. I feel like this is the big vision that Wolves fans had for the team at the beginning of the year. Coming off your first Western Conference Finals appearance in 20 years, you have all these big expectations. Stuff looks clunky. Stuff doesn't look right. And I'll say it again. I think just the biggest thing and the biggest reason that we're coming around, I feel like, is Julius Randle just kind of like buying in, or not buying in, playing within himself, not trying to do too much, kind of finding his role too next to Anthony Edwards, figuring out the spacing. And like, it just couldn't have been a more perfect time for everything to click. And I feel like, bearing some injury, I feel like it's almost safe to say that in the West, we could be one of those sneaky contender teams. And I kind of want to hear what you guys have to say about that. I know I'm kind of pulling it off track from the game tonight, but this is something that I've been thinking about a lot over the last few days. And I kind of want to hear where your guys' stance is on it.
Go ahead, Andrew. I want to hear the take before I kind of digest for a second.
Yeah. I mean, I am still firmly in they will win a playoff round. I think So long as they're not the 8 seed, I think they will probably win the first round of the playoffs, whether that's against the Lakers, Denver, Memphis. This team rises to the occasion so well, and they play so well against good competition. And you look at how most Western Conference teams are built. It's a really ball dominant guard, Luka, Shea, Ja, James Harden, if we're going to go down to the Clippers level, Steph. They have ball dominance, and the Wolves have built their team where they have Nikhil, Dante, Mike, Jalen, TJ, and Ant, and Jaden that can all shut down ball dominant guards. I think they're going to win one series. Now, for me to get on the bandwagon of they could make a deep playoff run, I think they need to finish out this season. And Evan and I talked about it on the last pod. Of just, I think they got to get to 50 wins. I think they got to close this season out dominating. And then I'll be pretty confident to say, okay, this team has been one of the best teams in basketball for well over a month. They're probably going to make another deep run, which every year this happens. Last year, the Mavericks caught fire at the right time. The year the Mavericks won the championship over LeBron, they caught fire at the right time. Phoenix, when they went to the championships, really good all season, but they caught fire again at the end of the season. Like there is something to clicking at the right time when making a deep playoff run. I'm just a little hesitant still because, if they go out and lose tomorrow against Indiana, that's the back end of a back-to-back. That's kind of expected. But if they lose to Indiana, then drop like one against the Pelicans, then lose to Indiana again, we're kind of back to the same place we were, where it's, okay, this is going to be a 6 seed or a play-in team. And how far can they go?
No, I get that. I think I also need to see it for a larger sample size as well. I'm going to agree with you on that one, just because we've seen what this team did in the beginning of the year. It does feel like something's a little bit different. It does feel like the vibe is changing. It does feel like the players are starting to understand what their roles are and they're accepting it, which seems like you said, Matt, like Randall finding himself tonight, 11 points for Julius Randle, but he just didn't force anything. Earlier in the year, I think Julius forces something tonight, and that's where the Wolves used to go wrong in the beginning of the year. Ant would do hero ball. Julius would do hero ball. They would take turns in isolation while everybody stood around and watched. And now it's like this team is moving like a well-oiled machine. Everything's going around. And are they going to continue this every game? We have to just see it to believe it. It doesn't matter who we're playing. We've seen us lose. I mean, we lost against the Jazz a few weeks ago. Like, we have to see it. Like you said, Andrew, what are we going to do against the Pacers? What are we going to do against the Pelicans? Timberwolves, yes, they're on back-to-backs, but they're at home. They don't have to travel. Tonight, hopefully getting that rest that we saw in the fourth quarter where the starters didn't have to play. Hopefully that's a big key into tomorrow's game of the guys being fresh and they're able to come out and play tomorrow night. And then getting a guy like Mike Conley back tomorrow, who we know is out tonight for just rest, obviously. That's amazing too. Now you're able to rest your veteran guys because Dante came back into the lineup. Guys like Gobert, guys like Randall, they've all become healthy now. So they always say this too, the healthiest team going into the playoffs, had the healthier teams, those are the teams that have the highest chance of winning sometimes. Minnesota seems to be getting healthy at a really good time. Let's come back to that later on, because hopefully that health will do the Timberwolves justice kind of going forward, guys.
The other thing I would just add, like why people should have hope in this team is kind of what you touched on a night where Julius Randle isn't making shots. I mean, he was fine. He played within himself. He wasn't doing anything bad, but like Dante was bricking everything in the first half. Julius was pretty non-effective. Naz Reid was not effective. Nikhil off the bench had another kind of meh game, but Ant goes supernova and the game's over. I mean, there's also like the games where Ant isn't going supernova. Those are the games that Julius sometimes inserts himself. Dante hits threes. They have so many different offensive weapons that they can beat you with that 3 or 4 guys can have a bad night and they can still hang in there. And then defensively, I mean, this team was versatile last year. This year, they can play small ball. They can play ultra big with Naz Reid at the small forward with Randall and Gobert.
Yeah.
Jaden's played center. They have 5 wing defenders they can deploy. Like, this team is built for the playoffs. In a 7-game series where you have to remake yourself every game, they're going to be able to do that offensively and defensively, which it's just another pin in the cap of like, this team has the making of it. They just got to prove it.
Right. And then kind of bouncing back real quick. Sorry about that, Evan. Kind of to what you're saying about Julius Randle kind of having an off night. This is why the Wolves invested $110 million into Jaden McDaniels. For when your option 2 doesn't have a good night, for when Ant has an off night or is not playing, you have Jaden who can go be your first option or your second option on a given night. And he comes out and he's been averaging 17 and 7 in 2025, something ridiculous like that. Like those are borderline, I feel like, not second option numbers on a championship team, but those are second number options on a playoff team, you know, and to be able to have that luxury as a third option.
That's Drew Holiday on the Celtics.
Yes.
That's Kristaps on the Celtics. That's Hart on the Knicks. That's Wiggins the year the Warriors won the championship. Like, you need a guy, like you're saying, that when your first or second option doesn't have it, he is good enough to get you something at least.
Exactly. And I feel like just dragging it back to last year too, in the Western Conference Finals, Ant was boxed, Ant was gassed. Cat showed up at the end of the series. Cat didn't show up in the beginning. What would happen if we had a Jaden McDaniels with this type of offensive capability? You know, like, is there another world where, you know, we're talking about, man, the 2024 NBA Finals, the Wolves versus the Celtics? Like, what a time, right? And I feel like, you know, it's great to see. I'm just ecstatic to see Jaden come out offensively, man. I've harped on it time and time again. Yeah, I lost faith in him. I did, and it's just great to see him come out and prove everybody wrong.
I liked we had on our guest Adam the other day. Adam pointed out that he thinks he could compare Jaden to maybe like what Andre Iguodala was back with the Warriors, kind of how he could be, you know, that number one guy maybe on like a bad team, but he's not good enough to be quite like your star caliber player. He's a pretty good number 2, but probably if he's your number 2, he's not good enough to get you to a title. Would be a really good number 3, but really, like, his career was made by being an amazing number 4 and a number 5 with the Golden State Warriors. And I think like Jaden does a lot of those things that Andre did. And so just getting Jaden to like buy into that, and now you're seeing it. The guys trusting Jaden. Jaden's confidence is skyrocketed. I think Jaden didn't have that confidence last year, no matter what people say. And he just wasn't confident in his game. But now he's so confident out there. He doesn't overthink things. He'll shoot the 3 and not think about it. But just being able to do all those things, expand his game, and then have his teammates around him and in coaching staff see it now. Now they're incorporating it. Now Jaden's a big part of the offense moving forward. And when you have guys that struggle in the playoffs, maybe for a game or so, like Ant, maybe for a couple quarters, Jaden can take the load off Julius and Ant for a second. It can bounce between the 3 guys. I think that's huge for the Timberwolves finding Jaden's stride, man. So yeah, we'll see, guys. We have another game coming up here tomorrow. So we'll be on live as well tomorrow for the Daily Wolves court side. To get into the Pacers, we're going to have a special guest on as well. One of the beat writers, Tony Allen, for the Pacers.
Host of Locked On Indiana. Anyone that knows Locked On Wolves, he's the Indiana one.
Yeah, we're going to be posting that episode tomorrow for you guys. So look forward to that in like on X, YouTube. You can subscribe to us on Apple and Spotify by searching the Daily Wolves to find us. Follow us there, and then you'll get to see it when we post it. It's going to be awesome because you're going to get to hear an outside perspective of the Minnesota Timberwolves, how their season's been. And then we're going to dive into really covering the Pacers and Wolves, kind of like what to expect. And we're going to be facing the Pacers a couple times in the next week. So it's going to be good to dive in and just get to talk to another guy who knows a lot of basketball. And hopefully all you guys can really enjoy or having on a special guest with us. So, but yeah, guys, I think we're going to wrap things up here, guys. Appreciate having everybody on. And as always, guys, go Wolves.
Go Wolves.
Go Wolves.